Good afternoon. We'd like to discuss some of the inya's of not being inebriated because the we're seeing a bottle there on the table that says Zachlawi Fig Arak. Now, Arak can be made from figs, and it can be made from other flavors of a fermented fruit. Because when it says Erez Zovas Cholov Udvosh, Cholov is what? Cholov is figs. Cholov is figs. Why? Because if you ever see a fig tree, and if you tear off the actual fig, it'll 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 exude out will come this white liquid. That white liquid during the time of the Baraglim, as they were moving around, the Zovas, the flow of Erez Zovas Cholov Udvosh. That's the cholov, because I would like to say that the nutritious capability of that product is like real milk. Milk comes from an animal. So unfortunately, if the animal is not well, the milk will not be as nutritious. But figs, if grown in a decent environment of Eretz Yisrael, it will definitely produce pure milk. And this milk is known to be extremely healthy. And it can come from figs, it can come from anise, aniseed, or flavored with aniseed, because the aniseed itself is an interesting concept. I'd like to propose that on this talus, each talus has some form, except Chabad doesn't, but each talus has the, I don't know if we can see it here, the anise seed has 8 sides to it. They're all the same. The 8 sides represents Kaviyachol the Rabbon Shalom. Now, from these seeds, they produce shikmaic acid. Shikmaic acid is known to be a wonderful ingredient in Tamiflu, in reducing the severity of flu or even the unfortunate situation of the Omicron. It won't destroy it, but it'll reduce the severity. Exactly. There you go. And what do I do with it? You can use it as a tea, and the fermented process turns into shikmaic acids, which is the basis for Tamiflu. There we go. There we go. Can't see it on the talus, but it's on the talus. Why is it on the talus?
I never noticed it before.
Yeah, but if you look carefully, on the talus we have it here, but it's dark, not dark enough, so we can't see it, or it's not light enough. But it's right there, and there's 8 sides to it. 8 is the number that we have for mispar of Kaviyachol Rabbon Shalom. Because 8, it has no start, no stop.
It's infinite.
It's infinite, right? We know that the infinite sign is the 8. It's not straight up and down, it's in the horizontal. Right. L'mala min hateva. And that's where the shikmaic acid comes from, which is one of the ingredients, I say, of Tamiflu. And you can check that and you'll see that. You want to look at it and see if you can find it? Shikmaic acid.
How do you spell that?
Shikamic.
Okay, I got it.
Shik.
Shikimic acid, more commonly known as its anionic form, shikimate, or whatever. It is an important biochemical in plants and microorganisms. It comes from the Japanese flower shikimi, the Japanese star anise, from which it was first isolated in 1885 by some dude. That's the shape of it.
Exactly. This is the actual genetic drawing of the shikmaic acid.
Therefore, what?
Therefore, they say that it has no bearing to the anise seed that it's called. It's called anise seed. That's a nesmin shamayim. That what it does is it can cure the flu.
Why is it on the talus?
Oh, because it has 8 sides to it, and since it's a cure-all for anything that hurts somebody, the 8 is Hashem, and we're asking Hashem to please give us the assistance and the healing process that we need in 8. And the seed is anes min hashamayim, as they say. What do I do with it? I can make a tea out of it, which is extremely delicious. And you can put some honey into it. And what is the honey that I put into it? It's not bee honey.
Fig honey?
I use fig honey, date honey,
Fig honey.
yeah, which is called silan.
They sell
Sure.
date honey in the stores?
Yes, sure. You get silan, and when you comes for Rosh Hashanah, you dip the apple in the honey, which is the honey of the figs. So the cholov is the milk, and the davash is the actual date honey. So eretz, zavas, cholov, udvash.
What's zavas?
It runs, flows.
Flows the milk from the figs and the honey from the date.
Exactly. Because davash is what backwards? Davash backwards is sweet. Just dalad beishin. Take the dot from the right side and put it to the left side. It becomes sweet.
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 $1 is
Hold sa'or v'chol davash lo seter mimeni isha Hashem. You can't use it for a carbon. Why? Because it's sweet and sour.
What pasuk is that?
In the Kabbalas, here. Have a look.
Okay.
Have a look. Bring it. Let's look at it. Find it, please.
What's the other design over here?
Bring it. 1, 2, 3. That's the other part of it. No, it's good. Here. Tona bar kapora omer. Echad l'shishim al yeshivim shana hoyse boshas yirayim l'chatoy. V'ytona bar kapora. Ilo hoya noizen b'korto shel davas ein olam yochel lamed derecha. When you burn it, you cannot. The odor coming from it is impossible to stay with. Lama ein maverim bodavas. They say Torah omer. Hol sa'ar v'chol davash lo saktirim b'mene isha l'Hashem. Davash backwards is sweet or sour. The opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh my God, you too much.
Right? Sweet and sour. We want it all to be sweet. We don't want no sour. Torah is sweet from all tzedot. It's all davash. That's why if you right, because it's all the way to one side, and if you don't do it properly, because our sweetness is the sweetness because the davash is the honey of bees. Because if you take bee honey, why? Because bee honey, the only way you get bee honey is if you smoke the honeybee out. So it's a pain that constantly is there because you're stealing it from the honeybee by smoking it out, and thereby not being able to have its next generation. That is the food of the next generation of the honey, of the bees, the baby bees. And if you give bee honey to a child, chas v'shalom, that's under 3 years old, where a child gets very, very ill, and it can get ill enough to need emergency treatment.
You're saying because we're stealing the honey from the bees' kinder,
Right.
therefore our kinder get affected.
Exactly.
Really?
Yes. You can look that up. Look it up, please. Is bee honey recommended for children under 3 years old? It may not be. It could be unhomogenized. Gee, it's cold.
Babies younger than 1 year old should not be given honey.
Why?
Oh, um, what is it? Why shouldn't they eat honey? The problem with feeding honey to babies stems from their developing microbiome. The array of microorganisms such as bacteria and archaea, whatever, that live inside on humans and that assist in the regulation of diet and affect many bodily functions. Before babies reach the age of 1 year, the bacteria in their gut is not developed enough to stop certain harmful bacteria from affecting the body. Clostridium botulinum is a potentially poisonous bacterium that, in addition to causing the illness known as infant botulism,
Botulism.
weird spelling, is often found in raw and processed honey. According to a study published in 1998, up to 20% of honey products have been found to contain spores of that bacterium. Symptoms of infant botulism can be scary. They include a weakening of the muscles, causing a child to appear limp and unable to move arms or legs, and potential respiratory failure.
It's a very scary situation. And most mothers put it into the into their milk if they don't use the their own milk, and to make it sweeter so the child takes it in. Unfortunately, that can be a terrible, terrible ingredient for the child. It used to be when mothers never knew what that was until after unfortunate situations where little kids would meet their demise. But the idea is that sweet and sour, because if a child gets hurt, it's very sour. Unfortunately, we should not hear of it. So, Chol Davash Chol Davash Lusaktir Mimeni Ishel Hashem.
Wow. Okay, cool. But it doesn't say anything about what you said before about the bee.
But if the bee is using for its next generation, we steal the honey that was meant to be for the bee's food.
And that's only from bee honey. That's not from date honey.
No,
What does because the bees don't touch dates?
right.
Date honey just squeezed out of the date.
I don't think so. I'm not sure about that, but I would. I mean, the bee. What does the bee do? It cross pollinates fruit. It'll go onto the bud. For instance, I have here growing an esfrit tree,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a gentleman up here in Pomona that has himself a greenhouse, so he is able to protect the trees. Now, my tree is on the inside in the winter and outside in the summer. Now, I've tried to get to cross pollinate to have the bees do their thing, but the problem is that you have to have a tree that is both male and female, or both ends of the spectrum when it comes to cross pollinating. And it's very difficult to achieve unless the tree comes from California, that you have a female tree and a male tree.
In California, they would have that.
Right. I used to grow on my patio projection.
And then to show you have male trees and female trees. In California, you have male and female together.
Beg your pardon.
Um, Google says that Ceylon is not technically a honey. There's a similar texture to honey, tastes just as sweet, but it's not an actual honey. Because honey,
Exactly. I don't call it an actual honey,
well, davage means honey.
but it also sweet.
Okay.
All right. So that's why we find it on the talus, because the prayers to Hashem and the effectiveness of this actual anise seed has on the medicinal ability for people to stay healthy is from this seed.
But what's this one?
The larger one is I think, in the process of it growing. See, because you have it again over here. That is the leaves or the branch that it would be coming off of.
But this?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, so I'll have to look it up. But I have a friend of mine that sells this to me in California. And he's got a big warehouse of selling all kinds of spices. And we've discussed this over the years. But what do I do with them?
Yeah.
When it comes to Asher Shemei Tshuva, I make these little packets with these in it. And each one I put in at least 4 to 5 of these little in a little fabric bag. And
Oh, that's so cool.
what?
Hold on. You're right. You're right. Look at this. Sorry to interrupt you.
Show and tell.
Of course. See the branch?
Yeah.
That's that.
The what? That's the branch.
Yeah. No, I'll wake up.
Now, is that a tree or a bush? Is it a tree or a bush?
That's a branch. I don't know.
It's a tree if it has a large branch to it. It's not a bush. Why? Because being that it's
This one.
right, it's not a bush. It's a tree. Why? And I pass it out. It says you may tshuva, and I ask to please make a bracha on it in Yom Kippur, on Yom Kippur during the davening. So to be mamala mea brachas, you make a bracha boire atse besamibitz. It's an eitz. It's a tree. I'm asking Hashem to please give us the strength of a tree that is healthy and procures life to humans because of its value against the flu or viruses,
Viruses.
which is Tamiflu. It's what a Tamiflu does. It reduces the severity of the flu. So what do I
And
do?
everyone's all running around crazy about corona, which is a virus.
I don't know. I haven't dwelled into that concept, but I know one thing: that the regular flu is. You look up the Tamiflu. What does it do, please?
Tamiflu?
Yeah, that's the name of it. Tamflue. Flu.
It's an antiviral drug that can treat and prevent flu.
Prevent.
Yeah.
Interesting. Either that or a flu shot. Now, last year, when I took the flu shot, Baruch Hashem, I take it every year.
It says here that that has serious side effects of vomiting, nauseousness, and hallucinations, but experts say it's effective in reducing flu symptoms and is worth the side effects. Sometimes the cure is worth the side effects.
Interesting. Were you getting that from Google?
Who else?
AI. But but what I'd like to say is that I give these out in little packets of, and I ask people to please pass it around during davening. Because how are you mamala meya brachas? You have to make meya brachas every day, and sometimes if you don't, then most probably there are more than meya brachas in the davening of Yom Kippur. No,
No,
Baruch Hashem Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. No,
no. It's because if you do a cheshbon, I mean, I know the Burit does a whole cheshbon.
yeah.
You wind up being with the five Sanskrit esries and the four Chazaras and the Kriyat Torah twice and the Brachas Shachar and everything else. You're still like roughly around like 96, 97 brachas. You're still short 2, 3 brachas. That's why
Okay,
people smell besamim.
but what are those besamim? They're not anis, because we're asking Hashem for please give us a kapara on
It
our
doesn't really matter what
avanas.
besamim. There's those who make a bracha on besamim. But instead of saying bori mine besamim,
You say bore atse besamim because eitz is something different than a.
it
Wait,
depends what you're making it
what is
on.
it's what is it called? What is it called? It's a the actual. It's called the besamim, as we know it, is bore mine besamim,
Close.
huh?
Yeah.
Clothes and.
We say mine besamim amos Shabbos no matter what we smell.
Square says mixes and say bore atse mine besamim. They use both. Check it out.
Weird. That's weird.
Yeah, check it out. You'll be fascinated.
But that's not a nusach of Chazal.
I don't know what the nusach.
That's not a surah of a bracha that was brought down from the Shulchan Aruch.
I don't know where does Square get it from.
I don't know.
And then there's another. Then there's another from I can't remember which plant it is, and it's called squaratic acid. I had to repeat that.
There's a lot of that going around square, huh?
Yeah, squaratic acid. Okay, and they combine the two, so it looks like a combination of the anise seed and the besamim seed have some effect again on the flu or the elements that can cause people to become very ill. So let's continue. Let's continue. So we've talked about the talis and that the 8 sides is lamana minateva, and I pass these out and I ask people to please be mamala meya brachas. Now, if you get 100 people to make that bracha in your schos, you've been mamala the meya brachas already. So usually I end up giving out quite a number of them, and I say to the gentleman serves, sir, will you please have in the downstairs, and then pass it out to the Noshim Tzidkonia so they you give it to your wife and have her, all the other people in the Ezra's Noshim also make a bracha on that. And if your wife has the schus of having other people making a bracha, it's part of her schus.
Tapping into the infinite.
Yes, exactly. So we call it besamim negalach.
Negalach?
Negalach. That's what it's called in Yiddish.
What does that mean?
A nail. It represents a nail. It looks like a little nail.
What, this?
No, the actual
Clove.
the clove,
Oh.
right? It's called some negala, a nugel, a nail. Because why is it called nail or nogal? Because we're asking Hashem, we are nailed into the into unfortunately into Golas. And we're asking Hashem, no, go alay sonu, please take us out of Golas. The negala is where you combine two elements, the element of ahava and the element of what happened here. Let's open up over there.
Is a nego, nun gimel al lamed.
Right. No go alay. Please take us out of the golas.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Really, that's crazy.
No go go alay. We want the geula.
That's why it's not much Shabbos when you're just as the Shemay say leaving. That's right.
But we're asking Hashem to please let us celebrate Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
That's the geula. Take us out of golas.
The Shemay say was leaving at that moment. At that moment, he asked for the Gula.
Exactly.
Oh gosh.
So this is I'm elucidating on a lot of ideas that I've come up with over the years, and I do this. I should have supposed to do it for many years to be mamala mea brachas to people that need the mea brachas because they have to say it themselves.
Right. Incredible. Incredible. I gotta tell you. You never cease to amaze me.
Where does the word amaze come from?
Amaze?
Yeah. Mazeh. All right. So, okay. Let's go to the parsha, this week's parsha. Yes, please, if you'd be so kind.
That's amazing.
Art scroll.
Art scroll?
Yeah. English translation.
I got a small one. A big one?
English is also Ein Galus. Mashiach Tzidkenu will come from here. Right?
What's this?
Because we're the only country in the world that on its money has the word "In God We Trust." You hear that?
No, no,
Yeah.
I have a small one. You want a small one?
Okay, it's good.
By the way, the most fascinating thing about Tu B'Shvat, the whole big suit over here, it was the one night of the year that here, I was able to eat anything on the table.
Hey, what?
I was able to eat anything I wanted on the table. It was all fruits. Fruits, fish, pepper, no of the garbage.
That's right. Peirot is a very important product with vitamin C in it, and normally you don't get botulism in it either, because the Rebbeinu Shalom grows fruit that is not infected, unless it's unfortunately been mistreated. What do you have there?
Some cranberries.
Okay, so let's go through this week's parsha is Yisro. Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard. What did he hear? He heard the kedusha of what happened to Klal Yisrael through the Rebbeinu Shalom's commands, parod, the makefas, the makos, and all the things that transpired during the actual freedom brought to Klal Yisrael. We're in Golos now. I want to say that we're in a form of Shibut Mitzrayim. And through as Yisro brought in the rule of law into the world at that time, he helped. The democratic concept, what we have today, came basically from Yisro. The Supreme Court is the higher end of the adjudication process. So we have here all the issues created by Jews or through Yisro was judge, jury, education, justice,
Jurisprudence,
And since the Ummah Elam would not allow us to do that, because we're jealous of our abilities to create a society of correct attitude and correctness.
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning. If you look at how the parsha starts off, it starts off. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, no. Um, right. That it says that Moshe is telling Yisrael about everything that Hashem did to Paro and Mitzrayim, and Yisrael does korbanos,
They sit down and eat lechem.
right? And then the next day, the Himi Macharos,
He takes off.
Moshe goes and judges the Klal Yisrael.
Right.
So this is after Matan Torah.
Right.
Because Rashi says it's after Yom Kippur.
Right.
So he's putting the story down here before, like, I get that. The Torah is recording it before Mount Sinai actually happens. But this is really fast forward almost 3 months, 4 months. Because from Shavuos until Yom Kippur is 4 months.
Yes.
Okay?
But this happened during the period of in the Midbar, after Matan Torah. So it wasn't
Correct.
4 months. All this occurred immediately.
No. Again. This one, Himi Machras, Yeshem Moshe, Lishpot Esam. He's judging Klal Yisrael. Rashi says, Machras Yom Kippurim.
Right.
It was Yom Kippur. So it's right here in the Rashi. The third line down.
Machas Yom Kippur Kodim Matan Torah. Okay, so it had to have been later on until they had a chance to learn. But they didn't know.
Exactly.
But there was the Shivrei Luchas, and the Moshe Rabbeinu had to come down again.
Exactly. What happened was, Moshe went up on Shavuos, on Vav Sivan, Zion Seal, whatever the Gemara says, comes down before Shavuos of Tammuz, breaks the Luchos, goes back up, comes back down before Chav Tes Av, goes back up, Rosh Chodesh comes back down on Yom Kippur. Up, down, up, down, up, down.
Where's he going to?
1 second, hold on. Hold up here, 1 second. He comes down on Yom Kippur. The next day is when he sits down and makes the court system. Day after Yom Kippur. Gut Numen. Right? That's what it's called. Which means what? Had he come down on Shavuos of Tammuz and stayed down without the Cheder Egel, without going back up 2 more times, you would never have had a court system. The court system is a byproduct of all of the machlokas and all the craziness that happened as a result of the Cheder Egel. That was not the original plan.
I'd like to add to that, if I may.
Please do.
Okay. What is Ma'on Kodshecha?
Heavenly abode?
Yes. But what is considered the heavenly abode? Difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Very difficult. What is considered the heavenly abode? I want to say that the heavenly abode, what are the letters before
Abode?
Mo, Me'oin, Mem, Ayin, Nun?
Lamed? Samach? Lamed, Samach, Mem.
Sulam, Mutzav, Artzav, Varosha. The Malachim go up and down. And Moshe Rabbeinu turned into a Malach when he went up to Moin Kodshecha. So he was going up and coming down, up and down. Are you with me?
Yeah. And therefore what?
Therefore, as he went up, his Chatorim and Chatorim of Klal Yisrael were Nello. And then when he went down again, they started up again. So you have to go back up to the Sul Mutzav Arts of Rosh Hashanah. The Arts was considered a Mokum, to a certain degree, a Mokum Tunmi, because that's when the Klal Yisrael went through all their Avinus until they had the opportunity to learn. And how did that come about? Through Moshe Rabbeinu bringing back the Luchas from Ma'in Kachachot after he broke them the first time.
So the ground is cursed from other research.
Right.
I always wondered over there, you have Adama, it says Arur Adama Bavarech, right? I think maybe. But you have three words for land. You have Adama, you have Eretz, and you have Sada. I always wonder what the difference between the three words were. Because the Torah and Bereshit and Noah, all throughout the whole Bereshit, not this parsha, but the whole Sefer, it uses these words interchangeably. And I can't put my head around like what's the difference between Eretz, Adama, and Sada.
I think Sora would be the prophet, or the ability for the earth to give us vegetation, which gives us life. That's the Sod. Now, what's the difference between Adam and Oretz? Because the Adam is the one that procures the ability of the Oretz.
The Adama.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The Adam, the man, the human being, can create through the Adama his livelihood.
Eretz?
Eretz can be, I just finished saying the Eretz is so, Moshe Rabbeinu came down to the Eretz. Eretz, all the lands that were, Eretz is more of a namesake for the conglomeration of the lands, or all the parts of the land, Canaan and the other places that were named at that time, that Klal Yisrael was going to take over because Hashem said, "This is Eretz Yisrael. This is what you're going to accomplish."
Bereshit bara Elokim es Hashem es Eretz.
Right.
What does it mean? What does Eretz mean? Nothing to do with Canaan.
No, but that's what when the Rabbanu Shalom promised Eretz Yisrael, who was his land coming from? It was coming from the Avaryonim.
Not following you. Oh, we're getting Eretz Yisrael because Canaan and all the Syria. Okay, but Bereshit, Hashem created heaven and earth.
Right. But Ein Mugdal Mamucher, as you said before. Because the outcome here was that Klal Yisrael and the Rabbanu Shalom took it away from Averis.
So you're saying, oh, because Rashi says over there, okay, that's now okay, because Rashi's saying over there, why is it the Torah starting from Bereshit and not from the left hand? Because he gave it to them and he gave it to us, he took it away. I gotcha. So Eretz is going on Azchusim. Adama is a byproduct of man's handiwork, because Adam works the Adama, which goes to a proof to what they say in the coaching world and the psychology world, that we create our own economy. Nothing to do with the government or anything else. I can create my own economy. By me working with you, or working with whoever I'm working with, I'm creating my own economy.
Through your efforts.
Correct.
And your integrity.
Correct. You're saying, but then Sada is what? Because it says, Vayetze Yitzchak Lasuach Basada. What does that mean?
He went to daven in the Soda, because the Soda is all a direct accomplishment from your tefillah. And tefillah includes integrity, honesty, and all the issues regarding being a mensch. Because if you're a mensch, me'onish from being punished. That's where the word mensch comes from.
Okay, Sada is from your tefillah.
Yeah. That's what Lasur Basada, right? Who did that?
Yes.
Yitzhak did that, right? Now why? Because it's Pachad Yitzchak. Chesed Lavroma, Pachad Yitzchak, and Teferes LeYaakov. Right?
Let's bring this all together then. So, Sada is from your tefillahs. Adama is from your efforts. And Eretz is from your schusim. Right?
Lasur Basada.
But, but Eretz is tied to schusim. Right? Because they walked and we got it because of their schusim, the lack of schusim. Adama is tied to my efforts. And Sada is tied to tefillah. So, some things you get because you worked for it. Some things you get because you paid for it. And some things you get because you earned it.
That's all through the laws of the Torah. Our Torah teaches us that if everything you do is proper, you will be rewarded properly too. But if unfortunately you fall at the wayside, you don't do it properly. You give tzedakah, but if you take the money or the profit you got to give tzedakah came from a lack of integrity, then that would cause a loss of your ability to continue.
But that would cause a loss in one avenue, not in all three.
But eventually it'll progress to the other
It's
two.
going to unravel the whole thing.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, let's continue here.
Fascinating.
Let's continue here. So, Vayishma Yisro, and Yisro heard. In order to hear, you have to be quiet. Because if you're constantly talking, you don't actually hear yourself speaking. So, in order to set up a democratic state, the way the Torah describes, through the Aseres Adibros, that that democratic state does not exist. Because in order to do that, you have to have the rules of law. And the word law is Keil Hashem. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Law.
Well, but it's my last
Keil,
rule.
yeah. Because that's the only thing that's a reality. Re'e Keil. Real. Re'e Keil. The rule of law. Only through seeing where Abon Shalom is in the Ma'on Kochecho, and that the Malacha went up and down to thank Hashem for what was going on earth here. To daven to Hashem to please maintain the integrity of the people that are full of integrity on the earth. What's the rule? What's the raya? Yisrael is the actual words are yes, sir. I'm sorry I have to say that, but the
So, yes, sir.
yes, sir. So if there's a commandment or a good idea and it's repeated by an officer of a greater status, you say yes, sir. So you have to be quiet in order to say yes, sir. What are the letters?
Because he set up the whole SARM system. Just say yes, sir.
Right.
It's in Yisro.
Yeah. So
I
Vayishma.
love it.
Okay, so what happens? So
You're amazing.
what's the letters before Yud, Sof, Reish?
What was it, Sheker? What is that?
No. Yud is a test.
It's
The letters
Keter.
before
It's Tes.
Shin, Kuf.
Resh. Keter.
What? Sheket. In order to hear, you have to be quiet.
Right. Check it. Yeah, they told me that last week.
Yeah. And where we learn that from? From the dogs. Why? It says Lo yechatz kelav l'shono. The dog knew and understood that Hashem was in the midst. Egypt did not realize that, and they were complaining to Paro. And Klal Yisrael was also, to a certain degree, later on, they're saying, bringing us out to the desert so we should die here. We'd rather go back to Egypt.
They're gonna die in ministry here in a couple of minutes.
Okay, but what are the letters before Cheretz? Yechratz.
Zion,
No, after, excuse me.
Test,
Cheretz. Tes. Reish. Kuf.
Kuf, Test, Kuf,
Sadid.
Kuf,
Where's my pen?
Side Kuf. Test, Shin,
Tes.
Sheket. Kuf, Reish, Shin.
Kuf. Reish. No. Ches, Reish, Sadid.
After Sadi comes Kuf, Reish is Shin, and Ches is Test.
It was a
Sheket.
sheket.
Yeah.
Again. The dogs even knew it.
So Cheretz is Sheket. And what's the other one?
Oh, yeah, and the other one is Yachratz Kelav L'Shana, and the other one is yes, sir, Yisro.
Yisro is before that though.
Yeah.
Letters before Yisro and letters after Cheretz. Wow. You're
So
too
there's
much.
there's a tremendous amount of ideas and understanding in between the letters. Because the letters are alive, they breathe, they tell us what the Torah is talking about because it's all written by Yad Hashem.
Too much. You're too much. You're incredible.
I thought it already, so.
I want to get to that here before they pull in.